Debt has never been higher. $14 trillion and rising faster than ever. President Obama and the Democrats want to raise our debt limit even higher, spending even more. But what will Republicans do? Cave in or show some spine? We already have one party committed to bigger government. We don't need another. Tell Republicans in Congress no debt limit hike without real spending cuts and a balanced budget amendment.
The anti-tax group Club for Growth clubbing both parties in this new national ad campaign. Andy Roth from that group says if the GOP caves, expect the roof to cave in, not just on the Republican Party, but on the entire nation. Andy, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's a pretty hard-hitting ad there, but it seems like so far, I mean, from what I understand, it's a national ad, but you rolled it out in Utah and Indiana, perhaps aiming at Orrin Hatch and Dick Lugar. Why those two guys initially?
Well, not that ad that you just saw, but there are two other ads that we are running in those states, and we just want to remind the people in those two states that their senators have a long history of big spending and out-of-control deficits, and to hold them accountable when a vote finally arrives.
So essentially what we're talking about here is not necessarily about party ideology, but maybe people who get down to Washington, D.C., they all get that spending fever and they can't seem to shake it.
Well, actually, longer than I've been alive, for decades now, Congress has been producing deficits year in and year out. So I think that record shows that they're not doing a good job balancing the budget. So let's put it into an amendment into the Constitution that forces them to do so. And the Club for Growth, the group that I work for, we're part of a larger coalition of the Cut, Cap, and Balance Coalition, where we say, let's cut some spending immediately, let's cap spending statutorily, and then let's do a balanced budget amendment. And only then will we approve an increase in the debt limit.
So in other words, you're saying that you're not necessarily against the debt limit going higher, but you think we should try other tactics initially, see if they work, and if they don't work, then sort of tweak the approach.
Well, no, we'd love to have the debt limit not go up at all, but we recognize the short-term need to do so in order to pass a balanced budget amendment. Once we pass the amendment and it's ratified by the states, then by its own definition, the debt limit never has to go up again.
But you know, Andy, today when the president of his press conference, he made it clear. He said that, quote, the leaders, all the leaders involved want the debt ceiling to go higher. So does that mean that despite your ads and your efforts, that the leadership of the Republicans, that they're in for the debt ceiling to be raised and it's just a matter of putting together the right deal?
Well, that's why we're running this nationwide TV ad, is to alert the public that Republicans may not be on board with this, on this idea to balance the budget, so we need to call on them to do so. Listen, right now, they're playing small ball with the Democrats. They're talking just about spending cuts, cuts that future Congresses can rescind automatically or ignore, and they're talking about tax increases. I know that Republicans are holding the line against tax increases, but today is different than tomorrow. Something could happen, and that should worry a lot of Americans.
Well, it also seems that the president made a deliberate attempt to drive a wedge between the Republican leadership and the masses who went out, the Tea Party folks who went out and voted for them in November. That's a pretty serious gambit on the president's part. Do you think it might work at all? Why would he do that?
Well, I think that there is evidence that the Republican leadership is not doing their job. They made a deal with Obama in December to extend the Bush tax cuts for 2 years, which is nice, but it should have been a lot more. Then they made a deal with Obama to cut a little bit of spending in the fiscal year 2011 budget that disgruntled a lot of fiscal conservatives, both in Congress and in the Tea Party movement. So right. The leadership's record right now has a lot to be desired. So they need to step up and start pushing for a balanced budget amendment. Boehner did say today that he liked the idea of a balanced budget amendment. So we need to see him repeat that more and more and get the full force of the GOP behind it. And then I think we're going to make a movement.
Well, I tell you what, as long as you guys keep pressing the attack, I think something will be done. I'm not sure if you're going to get everything that you want, but certainly the plot is thickening, and we appreciate it. Andy Roth, appreciate your time tonight.
Thanks for having me, Charles.